Hello friends. Now that we finished the entire setup required for variant configuration solutions involving class items, it is time to verify the solution. As a recap, let me quickly list down the activities that we have done as part of the definition. We first created the characteristics corresponding to shirt. These characteristics are fabric design, fabric color, logo, pocket, and collar. In addition to these five characteristics, we also used gender as additional characteristics to validate and restrict selection of some characteristics. Once you define the characteristics along with the characteristic values, you define classes of type 200 corresponding to each component of the shirt. For fabric, you defined one class of type 200. In the same way, you created classes of type 200 corresponding to logo, pocket, and collar. For each of these classes, you group the relevant characteristic. For example, for fabric, you group the characteristics color and design. For class relevant to logo, it was just one characteristic corresponding to logo. In this way, you define four classes of type 200 and map the relevant characteristics to each of these classes. The next step is to create all possible optional materials which can come under shirt. There are a few fabric materials, there are collar materials, pocket materials, and logo materials. So there are 12 fabric materials in a combination of 4 colors and 3 designs. There are 5 logo components. Then there are 4 collar components and 4 pocket components according to their color. You define all the components corresponding to these possibilities of characteristic values and map the relevant class. For example, a fabric of plain design and blue color, you map the class of type 200 which is corresponding to fabric, and then you set the values of characteristics for design and color as plain and blue respectively. In this way, you map classes of type 200 to each type of material and assign the characteristic values. Once this entire definition is done, you define class of type 300 which is for variants, followed by creation of configurable material. In the classification section of configurable material, you assign the class of type 300. The next step was to define the bill of material and routing for configurable materials. You define 4 classes as class items in the BOM of configurable material shirt. For routing, you define standalone operations for stitching the fabric, adding logo, adding pocket, and adding color. All these operations are independent of characteristic value selections. The next step was to define the configuration profile. The configuration profile will determine the behavior of configuration when you are selecting the characteristic values through value assignment screen. This is the last step required for enabling this solution. Once this entire setup is done, you need to verify whether the definition is working or not. For that, you will have to do what is called configuration simulation. Let us do the simulation, select certain values, and ensure the right BOM is selected. The transaction code to run configuration simulation is CU50. In the initial screen of configuration, provide the material name. The configurable material is shirt configurable. Plant is 1710. Quantity, you can keep it as 1 because we haven't created any validations in relation to quantity. In complex variant configuration, you might have defined certain dependencies which will work according to the quantity of configurable material. In this case, it is not applicable. Hence, you can keep the quantity as 1 or any other value. The configuration is relevant to sales and distribution because we wanted to use this entire setup for the purpose of transactions involving sales and distribution. So it can be sales order, production order, purchase order, or anything like that. In case if you wanted to use the setup and simulate for engineering purpose, you may have to select the other radio button corresponding to engineering. You wanted to verify the configuration result for BOM. Hence, you have to select the radio button corresponding to BOM. As such, we haven't defined any settings to determine the task list. Hence, it will not be applicable. Now run the configuration. In the value assignment screen, select the characteristic values. If you notice, pocket on shirt is defaulted to 2. The value 2 stands for no. That means by default, the pocket is not selected for shirt, but you can override. Let me select the design as stripes. The color of the shirt can be pink. I want to have a pocket, hence I am changing the value of this characteristic to 1. The gender can be male. The collar on shirt is yes, hence I am selecting 1. You can select the logo from the list of values. Choose Captain Marvel. These are the values you have selected. So your fabric will have a design of stripes with pink color. There is a pocket and collar as well on the shirt. In addition, you also want it to have a logo corresponding to Captain Marvel. Run result. You need to choose BOM application. In this case, it will be production general. Go ahead. The result is populated here. You can look at the result in this view by scrolling up and down, or you can also opt for going through list. Let me go through list. For shirt configurable as the configurable material, the components selected are shirt fabric STP. That means a shirt having a striped fabric in a color pink. Then the material corresponding to logo Captain Marvel is picked up. A collar of pink color is picked up. Similarly, pocket of pink color is picked up. That means you got the BOM components according to your selection. Close this list view. You can also go through the result in the same view by scrolling down. Okay. You can select a couple of other combinations. So go to characteristics, change the selections. Let me change the selection of design to plain, color to yellow, and keep the pocket and color. Change the logo to Mickey Mouse. Go to result. You got fabric with plain design and yellow color. You got logo component corresponding to Mickey Mouse. You got yellow colored collar and yellow colored pocket. This is what you wanted, hence you are happy. However, I would like to show you a couple of limitations in this solution. You are using class items as the components, and whenever you are selecting the characteristic values, according to the mapping of these characteristic values with the material will be replacing the class item in the BOM. However, if there is no material defined for certain values of characteristics, what will happen? Let us look at that. Go to characteristics again. Let me not select logo. If you remember, logo is not a mandatory component. Run result. There was a right selection of all other components. Let's see what happened to logo. Here you are seeing the class item rather than any component. Ideally, you are not supposed to see any component. However, because there is a class item in the SuperBOM and there is no material to replace this class item for certain combination of characteristic values, it will remain in the result. This is a little bit of inconvenience. However, it will not be hampering you for executing your transaction. You will still have all the stockable items generated as the result of your selection. You will be able to proceed for either production order, sales order, or whatever it is. I will also show you the other limitation. If you remember, for female, the collar cannot be selected. That means if I select the gender as female, you should not be able to select color. But what is happening here? It is allowing you to pick color. You can select one or two, that means yes or no, and it is allowing you to have yes. Then choose any logo, let's say Black Widow. Run the result. You see that there is a fabric with pink, plain design and yellow color. Then black widow is picked up as the logo. Pocket is selected. The color is not selected even though you selected for it. You chose the value 1. That means you wanted the color on your shirt. This is because you did not define any collar materials when the gender is female and collar is yes. Hence, collar materials is not picked up. But ideally, this will create a confusion for the customer because she selected the gender as female and she wanted to have collar, but in the result there is no collar because there is a logic behind it, but it is not appealing to the customer. These are a couple of limitations when you are using a solution involving class items. In addition to these two limitations, there are many other limitations which I will explain in detail in the subsequent lesson. And that lesson will be closure of this particular course as well. For now, thank you very much. We will meet again.